So this is a quick tutorial on how to do a flat fell seam. This time we're going to start with a much wider seam allowance. So you can start anywhere between, I'd say, 4/8 or half an inch or 15 millimeters. So I'm just going to start at half an inch there. Try and keep that seam allowance consistent as we go down. That's the first part of the seam done. Then we're going to start by pressing this seam open. So we're going to give that one a good press open. Then we need to decide which way our seam's going to go. So if we want our seam to sit this side or this side. Next thing we're going to do is this side of our fabric, we're going to trim this down to about half a centimetre, about 5 millimetres, 6 millimetres. And if you're struggling to do it on top here, you can fold that fabric out the way. You can see you've got one side with a tiny bit of seam allowance and the other side with your full width here. So now the next thing I'm going to do is flip this round. What I want to do, pull this fabric over, so I'm going to be encasing that raw edge. I'm going to give this another press. The reason you need some seam allowance here is that you don't want it to accidentally flip out. If you cut it too short, it could slip out of the seam. So about 6 millimetres is ideal. You can fold that over and give it another press here as well, just to really secure that seam. And if you think that it's been folded over a bit too much, you can use your fingers to just gently manipulate the seam. And then we're going to press this again. And what's nice is if you're using a contrast thread and you do the double stitching, it's a really cool effect on fabrics like denim. Got that nicely pressed. I will say if this is a long seam, then you'll almost certainly want to pin it. You want to try and get that as even as possible. You can see I'm a little bit wider up here than I am down at the bottom, so I might just use my fingers while it's still quite warm from the iron. And then we're going to take this back over to the machine. So the next thing is to really line up where you want your needle to go through on this part of the seam. So you kind of want a couple of millimeters in. As we're stitching down, I'm just going to make sure that all of that raw edge is all nicely tucked in. And we're going to do a couple of stitches. And then trying to keep that really consistent all the way down. I love to see the two lines of stitching, and it looks fantastic in a contrast colour thread. This is quite a narrow flat fell seam, but we also have a slightly wider one here, and this is all dependent on what seam allowance you use at the beginning.